done so far. I just want to show you a couple more bits and pieces. I'm at the beginning of my event and I'm going to draw a custom shape at the moment, so I'm just going to quickly draw a custom shape just to show you some simple things. Once you've created your shape, if you go back to the normal edit tool, suddenly you get the option to be able to do other things. So you can't see what's going on below, but believe me, the other clip is below. That's just one of these quirks of my screen recording software. If I click this negative button, the mask then, rather than revealing this section, will hide it and reveal the rest. It inverts the mask. So when I click negative mask, it inverts it. So you can have a mask revealing or a mask hiding. It's entirely up to you. But what happens when you click these buttons here is you can feather the edge of your mask. And it's just worth saying at this point, a little goes a long way. You can feather a mask in, you can feather a mask out. That means the edge of the mask sort of blurs at the edge, either going outwards or inwards, or both. So if I was to do feather outwards, I get a slider. And what I'm saying is, from this line, feather outwards, go smoother and softer until you disappear to nothing outwards. And the more you pull this, the wider it's going to be. So if I just go out a little bit here, you can see I've got a blur that's kind of gone out from full opacity, see the whole thing here, to nothing here. So it's kind of blurred outwards. But if you go too far, you can end up with kind of slightly odd looks. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's great for revealing a sun or whatever. But just bear in mind, a little goes a long way. I'm going to take that back to nothing, because I want to move on and show you a couple of other things. You know that you can animate masks over time. So if I go forward in time to here, suddenly you think you've lost it. Oh my goodness, what's happened? It's disappeared. Just notice a different track has been created. Go back to masks. There's that one here, and I'm actually on this mask here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this mask, pull it out, and then you'll see over time the mask is animated. Okay, so it has animated. So masks are completely animatable. You can change the shape, you can even change the blur. But there's one other thing to show you. If I click back here and I go back to my mask channel down here, I can create additional masks as well. So if I create, we'll do oval and square, we'll look at those in detail in a moment, but if I just click and create an oval around here, I'm creating an additional mask. Now that mask won't appear until it hits this keyframe. So if I go before it, I've got nothing, but when I go to this point here, bop, it appears. And we can see it if I click here on my screen. There's the mask. So I've got two masks. Actually, one's done the other one. Just go back a bit. You can see the two of them together. So you can see it bopped on screen and it appeared till this keyframe. When we get to that keyframe, you can see it's going slowly because it's having to do a lot of thinking. It's not there anymore. It's kind of disappeared. So you can create additional masks. So you can have quite a lot of masks going on at the same time. If you don't want any of them anymore, what you can do is sort of draw around your keyframes and just hit delete. So I've deleted those keyframes. I've still got the original one. What I can do is go back to that original keyframe, and if I hit delete on that one, nothing's going to happen. So what I need to do is select the mask, then hit delete, and it's gone. Okay, so let's have a very brief talk about these ones here. If you want to create a rectangle, which is a really easy way of doing things, click and drag, and a rectangle is created. Okay, no problem, not difficult at all. Control Z to undo that. If you want that mask to be a perfect square, when you click and drag, I'm going to click and drag from the top of this flag, for example. Click and drag, it's not a perfect square, but as soon as I hold the Shift key, it becomes a perfect square. Right, so that's if you want a perfect square, hold the Shift key. But if you want it to draw from the center outwards, if you remember, Control Z, get rid of that. If I draw from the middle of the flag again, I draw out. If I hold the Control key, it draws from the center point. So if you want to reveal something perfectly, click right in the middle of it, hold the Control key, and you can drag it out to show it. Now, as well as this function, again, I'm going to Control Z to get rid of that. As well as that, the Alt keys both do something. Now, if you look at your keyboard, you've got two Alt keys, usually to the side of your spacebar, one on the left and one on the right. So if I click and drag and hold the Alt key on the left, you'll see that I get a rounded rectangle. In other words, the corners are rounded. If I hold the one on the right, you'll see that I get a diamond shape. And the diamond shape, if you hold the Shift key as well, can become a perfect sort of square on its side. So that's working with rectangles. You can change them to your heart's content. I'm just going to delete that. Working with ellipses is very similar. I'm going to go on the flag. If I click and drag and then hold the control key, you'll see it centers on the flag. If I hold the shift key, it'll become a perfect circle. Hold the shift and control key, you'll see that it's a perfect circle based on where I started drawing it. The Alt keys basically flatten off one side, either the top or the bottom of the circle. So if I hold the Alt left, you'll see that it flattens up the bottom. If I was to hold Alt right, it's going to flatten the top. So those are the various modifier keys that you can have, and that shows how you can actually animate bits and pieces. I've clicked there now, it's created right at the beginning of my clip. I can add a blur to it, I can invert it, all the bits and pieces we've done before, and I can move it across the screen. So it's very easy to do. You can do lots of bits and pieces, and you can change it after the event. So I can say, actually, you know what? I want it to be totally different than how it originally looked. So you can go in and make any modifications you like once it's been created. You can even rotate it if you require. So you see that masking is really powerful inside of Sony Vegas, and there is still more that we can do, because you can use the masks as a basis for an effect. In other words, saying just have an effect showing inside a mask. And we'll have a look at that in the next tutorial. My name's Andrew Davis.